Hello everyone, this is Kallol Saha, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, Barakpur Rashtraguru Srinath College, and today I am here to deliver a presentation with the help of my PowerPoints on steps of a research process and the sources of data collection. These slides are for learning and can be used by any of my students, but this is specifically meant for my MCOM semester 2 students who have research methodology as a part of their master's degree syllabus. Well, before moving into the thick of things, we would like to first briefly discuss the concept of research. In the broadest sense of the word, the definition of research includes any gathering of data, information and facts for the advancement of knowledge. Research is a systematic investigative process employed to increase or revise current knowledge by discovering new facts. It can be divided into two general categories. One is the basic research and one is the applied research. Well, we can put it in this way. The whole world is now in the grip of COVID-19 and scientists all over the world are trying to develop medicines and vaccines for COVID-19. This would amount to basic research. And when once the COVID-19 medicines or the vaccines have been developed, they can be further produced, commercialized, and they can be sold in markets. This use of the basic research for commercialization purpose, for developing new products or techniques, that would amount to applied research. We can say that basic research comes at first and the knowledge of basic research can be used in applied research. There are several definitions of the concept of research, but according to Kothari, as pointed out in 2002, research is a systematic investigation to find solution to a problem. Cooper and Schindler pointed out in 2003, research is in any organization is the inquiry carried out to provide information for solving a problem.
Now we are in a position to discuss about the steps of a research process. Actually, whenever you need to carry out research, you need to follow certain steps. These steps may not be common for all researchers, but the slide gives an idea about the general set of sequential components of research. The first and foremost part is selection of the research topic. Here the researcher decides that on which topic he shall carry out the research. The second is definition of the research problem, which refers to exactly what kind of information does the researcher want to collect and what kind of problem does the researcher want to find an answer to. After that comes the literature survey and the reference collection, which means that before moving on to the interior part of research, it is necessary to go through different books, journals, websites to collect information regarding what type of information and what type of research has already been done on the topic. This is known as literature survey and reference collection. After the literature survey and reference collection, we need to carry out assessment of the research gap. The research gap actually refers to those information which have not been found out by earlier researchers. In fact, this is the area in which the research should be carried out. After that, there is another step which is known as formulation of hypothesis, which may not be common to all types of researchers, but in some cases a primary assumption is made and that assumption is known as a hypothesis, and finally that assumption has to be tested through data collection. After that comes the research design, and research design is basically a detailed plan or blueprint about how the research should be carried out. After the research design, we have to determine the sample, whether we are going to collect samples or we are going to collect data by asking the whole population. Then we have the data collection, which can be primary or secondary, which we will discuss in the later part. Then we need to carry out analysis to interpret the results. And finally, we have to write the report. The report may be having several pages which can be classified into preliminary pages, main text, and the end of the report. So those are basically the steps of a general research process.
Well, as we were discussing about the research process, we came through a step known as data collection. And this data collection could be done either from primary sources or from secondary sources. We need to discuss the concept of primary and secondary data in this part. Well, primary data are known as the first-hand information. These information are collected directly from the source by means of field studies and surveys. Primary data are original and like the raw materials. It is the most crude form of information. The investigator himself collects primary data or supervises its collection. For example, we can say that the information collected by a researcher for the first time about the likings of respondents regarding laptop brands among students in a management college is an example of primary data. This primary data can be collected by observation, by filling up of questionnaires, schedules. In other words, this is the data which the researcher finds out or collects himself or herself for the first time. In contrary to primary data, secondary data are the second-hand information. These data are those which have already been collected and processed by some agency or persons and are not used for the first time. According to Blair, secondary data are those which already are in existence and which have been collected for some other purpose. Secondary data may be abstracted from existing records, published sources, or unpublished sources. For example, the information collected from Panchayat office records regarding the income sources of the individuals in a village is a secondary data. This is because this information is already available with the Panchayat office. Well, we have already discussed that primary data can be collected with the help of questionnaires or schedules. Now, there is actually a thin line of difference between the concepts of questionnaires and schedules. With the help of both questionnaires and schedules, we can collect primary data, but a questionnaire is a research instrument consisting of a series of questions for the purpose of gathering information from respondents. These questionnaires are sent to the respondents either by post or by email, or the researcher may distribute them manually also. The concept of questionnaire was invented by Sir Francis Galton. Schedules, on the other hand, are also a kind of questionnaire, but for schedules, the respondent himself or herself does not record the answer. The task of recording the response is given to a person who is known as an interviewer or an enumerator. In fact, the researcher himself can be the enumerator or the interviewer, and this enumerator or interviewer asks the questions personally to get the respondent's answer and records the answers in the schedule. Well, to distinguish in simple words, a questionnaire may not require the presence of an enumerator, but a schedule requires the presence of an enumerator, because in case of schedule, the recording needs some kind of specific knowledge. Well, now we will discuss the types of questions in a questionnaire. To start with, we have the open format or the open-ended questions. The open format questions or open-ended questions give your respondent an opportunity to express their opinions or feelings in a free-flowing manner. These questions don't have predetermined set of responses, and the respondent is free to answer whatever he or she feels is right. Well, qualitative questions fall under the category of open format or open-ended questions. You can see the example of an open format or open-ended question where the question is, state your opinion about the quality of ABC Corporation's product and services and a space is provided in the questionnaire, and the respondent is free to write anything he feels about the products and services of ABC Corporation. The next is the closed format or closed-ended questions. The questions where respondents are restricted to choose among any of the given multiple choice answers are known as closed format or closed-ended questions. There is no fixed limit as to how many multiple choices or options should be given. The numbers can be 2 to 4 to 5 or 8 or anything which the researcher thinks necessary. One of the main advantages of including closed format questions in your questionnaire design is the ease of performing preliminary analysis. You can see the example of closed format question where the question is, how would you rate the products of XYZ Corporation? And the respondent has to answer in fair, good, excellent or superb. These are the four options, the closed options given to him, and he need not explain his feelings in a qualitative manner. Next we can mention about another type of question in a questionnaire, that is the dichotomous question. Among dichotomous questions are those questions that include only two possible answers. They are used for clear distinction of qualities, experiences or respondents' opinions. For an example, do you think that the number of branches of our health insurance company is adequate? And the respondent is asked to say either yes or no. That is, he has only two options. That refers to a dichotomous question. Next we have the Likert type question. The Likert type scale is used to determine the respondent's attitudes, feelings or perception about something. Most often it is used to measure the level of respondent's satisfaction or the consent rate. For example, there may be a question, to what extent do you agree that smoking should be allowed in public? And the respondent is allowed to give answer as strongly disagree, disagree, neutral or neither agree or not disagree, agree and strongly agree. That means there are 5 options, and these options help the respondent to speak out in a qualitative manner about his feelings regarding the question. Next we have the question which is known as the list of items type. In the list of items type, there is a type of close-ended question that offers its respondents greater number of answers from which they can choose one or more possible options. For example, which one of the following stores do you most often visit? And there are 5 options, and the respondent is free to select either or 2 options or 3 options or as many options he or she. Finally, we have another type of question in the questionnaire which is known as the Ordinal Question. This type of question is used to sort the answers in order of importance according to a respondent, mostly by assigning numbers or by actual transfer of the individual answers. Let us take an example. There may be a question, please sort the following items according to their importance or deciding factor when purchasing a holiday abroad. And there are 4 options given where the respondent is asked to assign the ranks 1 to 4, where 1 is the most important factor for deciding a holiday package and 4 is the least important factor. The factors may be price, location, transport or others. This type of ordinal questions actually give the respondent a chance to grade their answers according to their feeling about the level of importance. Well, that was a brief discussion about the steps in the process of research and about the methods of data collection with special reference to questionnaires and schedules. Education is always an enlightenment, and I request all of you to go through the slides, and please feel free to ask questions, any kind of questions regarding the topic whenever you feel it's necessary.